Salutations. Marriage is the assimilation of hostile principles, and to be assimilated is to die. The constant becoming of the psychophysical is a form of death. Every instant that passes, there's a death and a rebirth. For we, the psychophysical, is not the same an instant ago. This marriage of hostile principles is the marriage of contrary forces. These forces are contrary to each other, not contradictory. Do not mistake it for the logical fallacy of duality. These contrary forces come together because it's their nature. There's no way you're gonna stop this dance of these forces attracting each other and becoming. Yeah. For instance, in the Abrahamic mythology, a bride of Christ is the psychophysical, the soul, that puts itself to death. You see, the moment there's a union of these two contrary principles, they are what? Put to death so that something else may be reborn. They become one. The contrary become one. They assimilate. Another analogy, the full moon every month is quote unquote eaten by the sun, becoming a new moon. The full moon gets assimilated by the sun. And when it shows itself the next time, it's a waning moon. The moon is recharging, so to speak. It starts little by little waning until it gets full again, and the sun devours it once more. There's a marriage between these two hostile principles. Same thing happens every day at dawn and at dusk. This one is very famous in the Egyptian pantheon. There is a devouring of the darkness at dawn, and the opposite happens at dusk. Every 12 hours, there's a devouring of these two hostile principles. In the past, before the Marxist revolution, you see, the Marxists really hated the working classes. They really hated the family unit, and they seek to dismantle everything and become the parents. The Marxists are, in my opinion, the result of broken families. So they have this obsession on spreading misery throughout the whole world because they want the whole world to experience what they experienced. So breaking up the family is their goal. It was removed in the beginning. I don't know if they put it back, but in the beginning, when Karl Marx and his buddy, whatever his name is, I always forget, they put out the book, which is almost like a grimoire. They put it out, in one of the tenets was dismantle the family, but even they back then knew it was not going to fly, so they had to remove it, this dismantling of the family. See, because back in those days, The family unit was still very strong, and it was just inconceivable thinking about it. They would be shooting themselves in the foot if they put it, in the pages of their manuscript. But it was always the intention because, for instance, when Lenin and Stalin took over, they declared themselves as the father of the nation. So the father figure disappeared from the family unit, and when someone needed to use the word father, they would direct it towards him. Yeah, he, the state, became the father figure. You know, the dismantling of the family and the state becoming the parents that raise children, that educate children through the education system, the brainwashing, yeah, system, more likely. They are miserable. They had a rough childhood. That's why they seek company. Misery seeks company. So they want to project that through everybody else. So back in those days, there was still a healthy family unit. Um, it was the family that arranged marriages. They're still in the most successful societies nowadays, and do not mix up, technological, achievements and monetary achievement. Don't mix taken with family, success, yeah, or societal success. It's not. It's a car crash. It's a train wreck. Um, Countries who are, right now, drunk on materialism, Marxism. So where was I? You see, the family unit is the central pillar of a healthy society, and it was always the parents that fixed or thought of the future for their children. Obviously, because children are quite, stupid up until a certain age. I think, for instance, in matters of voting, I think people should express their opinions only after 40, and in some situations only if they participated in the army, because you have to go through life to understand life. What's the point of allowing an 18-year-old angry person to vote? They don't know anything about life. Especially nowadays, everybody's sheltered, extremely sheltered. They have no connection to reality whatsoever. So it was mommy and daddy and etc. Even the rest of the family that organized these things. They organized what's going to be their occupation. They organized who's going to be their partner, and they put together a marriage as fast as possible, because it is between your teenage years and your 27 or 30 years old when you are the most capable of nourishing children. So if you have a bunch of kids until you're 30, you're doing it the right way because your body is more flexible, more healthy, and you tolerate a lot, sleepless nights, etc. After 30, it becomes a lot more complicated and it can put your life in danger. So, so parents was quite fast at fixing marriages as early as possible. And of course, this is also a way of passing down the family fortune, passing down wealth. Yes, fixing, arranging things, Because if you let these to the choice or the whims of angry teenagers, they will divorce and separate and dilute everything. So, for instance, in the West, there's a culture that endorses divorce. So people are constantly broke. Young people, they have to start everything from scratch, become renters because there's no passing of family wealth. Of course, the elites or the people in charge, they know what they're doing. They are passing the family fortune the right way, so they keep and stay in power, while the rest is just being bamboozled around like imbeciles, paying rent, becoming renters or batteries for the elite. So it was the family unit, the center pillar. You see, the center pillar, the hearth fire of a home, is the female archetype for a reason, because it's the woman or the lady. We used to call them ladies because from the earliest possible, families used to educate their women how to be a lady, how to properly do things. So a lady didn't drink, didn't cuss, yeah. A lady was family orientated, and a lady kept a man on a leash. And the function of the man was to provide and procure, you know, to protect, provide. Uh, Lady also had the ones who actually could had a dowry. That dowry was given by the father, but in case of divorce, which was not common, but it could happen. In case of divorce, the dowry had to be restituted to uh, the recently, divorced woman by the husband. He had to give it back because the dowry was her way of ensuring her survival. Yeah, it was her plan B, so to speak. It was her life insurance. It was the dowry. So why am I talking about this? Because a lady educated the children. There was no need for schools. There was universities, obviously. After the age of 14, people was allowed to go to school or university, but before they had to pass a test if they knew how to read and write properly. And that is the function of the lady, the lady of the household. She, you know, educated the children. So the lady was highly respectful. You didn't drink with the lady. You didn't laugh with the lady. Yeah. So if a man wanted to blow off some steam, and this is still in practice today in some cultures, um, it is permitted by the lady. She allows the man to hire an escort and go on a date. You see, you don't take a lady to a date. It's ridiculous. When you were meeting this lady for the first time, it was under the supervision of the family. And you wouldn't take her out, to whatever, cinema, popcorn. No. You would take her and visit your house. You visit your estate. And then she would decide if you were a good match or not. She would imagine herself living in those conditions. You would show her your place, your family, especially. You would eat together. That was your first, interactions, was to eat together in the same table with all your next family. Yeah. To take someone on a date, that is why the escorts existed. The escorts, was people who dressed provocatively and wear makeup and stuff, and they would drink and smoke and laugh, you know, and there was no physical things involved unless they were, prone to it. But this is all consensual. Ladies knew about this. They know men have their nature, and you have to let them vent for a little bit, otherwise they're going to explode. So, for instance, in Japan, it is permitted, and in other cultures that I'm not going to mention, these outside of the relationship, activities. Um, so they hire an escort to have a laugh, to smoke, to drink, to take them into bars and concerts, discussing things and just blow some steam. And then they return home. Yeah. Unfortunately, the Marxists turned everything upside down, and they convinced women that they have to be like the escorts, to go on dates and have promiscuous relationships, temporary promiscuous things, and get paid and move on with your life. So they wanted ladies or women to completely forget the essential role they had, being the pillar of education and family, because the Marxists wanted that role. The Marxists always hated the working classes because they were so family orientated. The reason why they did so much sacrifices working in these factories and fields, and so they could feed their families. And the Marxists just hated, because they were, for the most part of the rich families, but they didn't had love, affection from their parents. So they saw others so happy, and they were envious. If you want to translate into emotions, the Marxists are envious. That's their main envious, angry. You know, they are envious of the happiness of others, and they wish, to, like a mirror or a projection. They wish to share their misery. Yeah, the Marxists, for instance, they defend this thing of equality. That is a logical fallacy. We are not equal, because equal means the same, and nobody is the same. The reason why the the hostile principles come together is because they are not the same. Okay, but they come up with these buzzwords about equality and blah blah blah. It's nonsensical. It's illogical, irrational, and they only have traction because of people who are, you know, ill, mentally or physically ill, frustrated, or they are, low IQ. That's um, that's their audience, so to speak. So they have to de-educate people in order to become more popular. Look at art. Look at, you know the schooling system. It's their handiwork. You see, you do not in a Marxist, you do not bring about a Marxist revolution with educated people. No, you have to dumb everybody down to their level. So anyway, the world that we have today is upside down and backwards, and the only way we're gonna bring back some normality is to, you know bring back the family as the backbone of society. Private property, privacy, and I mean, people can't even discipline their children anymore. The Marxists have got their claws in on every aspect of people's lives. You can't discipline your children anymore. There's cases helped by their teachers, obviously, and by the therapists and whatever. These children actually sue the parents. if they try to discipline them. Yeah. The result is that you have generation of teachers who are actually quitting. They say we can't teach anything because we can't discipline them either. They are so undisciplined that the teachers can't even, you know, teach a class. There's this, it's not The Simpsons, it's the other, the South Park, How to Cure ADHD. It's a small video, it's really funny. The teacher just disciplines two of them, and the rest just follow the lead. You know, they are like, okay, better to shut up and pay attention, otherwise I'm going to be next. And that's how you do it. Thomas Sowell said, you know, humans are extremely savage. You know, when they are young, they desperately need to be updated into the society we have. They desperately need to be updated. If not, humanity regresses into a savage state. You know, education is essential. Children require desperate education. Otherwise, the work, the sacrifices of the past generations are all in vain. Every so and now and then, there's a generation that just doesn't understand the sacrifices of their parents. And they think everything is free. There's no free lunch. But so anyway, I think I'm going to shut up. Tell me what you guys think. Have a nice day.